Welcome back to the Can I Ask You a Question podcast. This podcast is a place to get honest and curious about life where pretty much no topic is off limits. And each week it's either going to be a deep dive into a question with yours truly or an interview with one of the most interesting people in my world. Either way, we keep growing in wisdom and just having a lot of fun along the way. Let's dive in with today's question. It's something that I think about in different ways often, and it's this: what does it really take to succeed at life? And primarily, when I mean succeed in this conversation, I mean goal achievement, to achieve the things that I have set out to do, to be successful in my endeavors. I would like to do a future podcast on what really comprises happiness in our life, overall contentment and peace and joy. And I have some thoughts on that. But today, particularly, we're talking about success through the lens of achievement and goal achievement. And what does it really take to succeed? Webster's dictionary defines the word succeed this way, among others. It says, to attain a desired object or end. And I believe that we all have areas of our life where we'd like to succeed in. Probably a handful or more areas for each of us. Perhaps health, finances, relationships, personal habits, career, service goals, maybe with your ministry or something you're leading, a nonprofit you're leading. But like me, you've probably often struggled to, as the definition of success is, to attain a desired object or end. And so let's dive into together today to explore what's the missing piece, maybe for you, for me, so that together we can learn what it really takes to succeed. And that's not to say that you're not succeeding anywhere. That's not to say that I'm not succeeding anywhere. But definitely there are areas where I haven't yet, or areas where it's been up and down and frustrating. And as I've thought about this, there are a couple of missing pieces that I believe very likely we're missing one or the other. And so when we get them all together, that I believe we can begin to really achieve or attain our desired end to succeed. And so without further ado, here's the first missing piece that may be stopping you from achieving your goals, from really succeeding. That's this: the missing piece of having clear goals. Missing piece number one is clear goals. Do you have very clear and defined goals for your life, and particularly for the areas where you have a desire to succeed? Probably you have at least a vague idea. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be aware that you're not succeeding at it. You have some measurement, but is it clear? Is it defined? This particular piece of the puzzle of success, I'm actually naturally strong at. I love dreaming big dreams and making lofty goals. So this one comes quite naturally to me. I know it doesn't for everybody. I love to kind of stay up in that 35,000 foot level to maybe like the 15,000 foot level. And below that, I'm not useless, but sometimes it feels like it. Other people, though, for you, you're like, hey, getting up there into the mountaintops, into the heights, and dreaming big is really a problem for me. Dreaming creatively or thinking into the future, it's just not enjoyable, or it's tedious, or you don't know how to do it. And you're maybe a lot more hands-on, action-oriented, on the ground of the 15,000 foot kind of tasks and focuses. And so probably you're going to be better at the next missing piece. But I want to talk about this first one because we each need to have it to some degree. And I'd like to give us 5 questions. And I just love questions. It's kind of the whole concept of the podcast, right? Because they can be so powerful to clarify, to unlock. And here are 5 questions that I believe will help you create clear goals and fill this missing piece in towards your success. The first question that we need to be asking ourselves, and we can ask ourselves, is this: what do I really want? Many of us end up pursuing things that we don't really want. So once again, that first question is, what do I really want? It's so easy to find ourselves pursuing other people's goals, other people's agendas, and even mistake them for our own, or think we should want something. But it's so important and clarifying to begin to really go, what do I really want? For me, one of the ways I do this is I try to kind of forecast the future. And what I mean by that is I basically play pretend. In my mind, I begin to think about if I'd make these decisions, if I start that business, if I join with that partnership, if I do that investment, okay, how will that play out over life? And is that really what I want? Do I want those employees? Do I not want those employees? Do I want the benefits of that investment, but also the stresses of that investment? What am I really after? And as we begin to understand what we really want, it has immense clarifying power. The next question, and number two, is this: where is God leading me? I've clarified in other places and writings and podcasts that first question, what do I really want, could be very destructive, could be very misguided if it's not kind of predicated on being within a Christian worldview, guided by God himself, who's the only one who's perfect and holy and has the right motives. And so even number one, the first question, what do I really want? It's kind of based on the idea that I'm already experiencing the work of God changing my heart, changing my appetites, because there are times where what I really want is not good, isn't helpful for me or anybody else. But then there are other moments when I'm kind of getting back to my original design that God had for me, and what do I want is a great question. But the second, and it can actually be God leading through that. God doesn't the way God designed you. But the second gets right to it. We need to ask ourselves, where is God leading me? Among all the interests I have, among all I want, where's the voice of God leading me? And that can come, as we're going to see in other ways, through our circumstances. We can kind of suss that out a little bit and see where God might be leading us. But also, at least in my faith tradition, and I believe in many who are listening, we can hear the voice of God. It sounds many times almost like the voice when we just think in our own head. It sounds like that, but actually you can kind of tell this isn't just me. This is the voice of God leading. And as we begin to clarify goals, we need to ask this, and we should. It's beneficial to ask, where is God leading me? What is that area of life He's just kind of not letting me forget? He's putting my focus. He's putting a burden. He's putting in me a compassion or an anger at that injustice or a passion for where is God leading me? So number one, what do I really want? Two, where is God leading me? Number three, as we begin to clarify our goals, is this: when should I pursue it? You may begin after asking question number one and number two to have a pretty good idea. God wants me to do fill in the blank. I should build a goal around fill in the blank, and I start to build that out. But sometimes the next question is when, right? The timing on it. When should I pursue it? Now that I have some sense of what I really want to go after, what God is calling me to, the next question is, when should I pursue it? I believe it's Ecclesiastes or Proverbs, Solomon speaks about this. There's a time for everything under the sun. And in life, in business, in politics, in leadership, and all of it, there really are better times and worse times to begin something or end something or transition something. And so one of the things that I've, especially recently, been really seeking to get God's guidance on is the timing, asking God for wisdom, asking God for discernment to do not just the right thing, but in the right way at the right timing. And so when should I pursue it? Maybe you're younger watching this. Allie and I get to work with my wife, we get to work with many 18 to 28-year-olds. And so often they have actually kind of heard of some clarity on what they want in life. They have some clarity on where God is leading them, but they just kind of assume that all of it is now. And when there's a delay, they often are disenchanted or frustrated by it. They fight at it. I know when I was young, I did, because we kind of just assume that if it's God and if it's something I want and it's good, I should just pursue it right now. And many times, yes, but sometimes the answer is no. It's coming, but it's not the time yet, and you have to wait for it. And then you begin to ask then a follow-up question. Okay, if it's not time for this, what is it time for? How could I prepare? How could I best use the waiting time so it's not wasted time? And so then that becomes our third question as we begin to clarify our future vision, and we create clear goals, almost as we go into the area of life planning, a mission statement when I say goals. It's in that much larger way. And that third question is, when should I pursue it? When should I pursue the things that I'm wanting to do, God is calling me to do? Number 4, who should join me? As we begin to clarify our goals and we begin to go towards these goals and prepare to go towards these goals, one of the questions that we need to be asking is, who should join me? Who's the team? Or just as good of a question is, who should I join with? Who do I need to begin to add value to their life or serve so that I can be mentored by them? How can I, maybe, do I take a job? Do I take an internship? How do I make time so that I can learn from other people so that they can help me towards the goal that I have? But also, who are the people that are going to be with me? Who's the team? It could literally be, who are the people I'm going to hire for my startup, or it could be just, who are the friends around me, or who are the people that I'm going to recruit to my nonprofit. But it's not enough to just know what you want to do and the things God's calling you to, even to find the timing. But then you need to begin to have some clarity on the kind of team you're going to have, the team you're not going to have. I've heard some fascinating things on even the size of team. I was listening to a CEO that talks about that even over 10 people, it's like this drastic shift in management. And so either probably he was advising like stay under 10 or go way bigger because you're in a messy middle in between. And that's a fascinating thing. I'm not there yet, but it's interesting, the size of the team, the way they're going to work, who they are, what that feel is. That's going to have a drastic impact on ultimately your future, the future that you build. And you can begin to envision it now and ask that question, who should join me? And finally, the fifth question to clarify and help us build our goals and our vision in life, which is incredibly important towards actually attaining our end. You have to know what the end is. You have to know where you're aiming, is this: how am I uniquely designed? How am I uniquely designed? We've asked, what do I really want? Where is God leading me? When should I pursue it? Who should join me? And finally, how am I uniquely designed? There may be, I love the idea that, up most mountains, there are more than one path. There's more than one way to scale the mountain. And it may be, let's say that there are 5 ways to climb a mountain, that 4 of them make your skin crawl. 4 of them, it's very obvious you're not suited to, or 2 you're totally not suited to. 2 you could do, they're a competency, but maybe there's one way where you're like, I can't believe it. I can achieve the mountain of success doing it this way. It feels like cheating. It's so natural and easy to me. You know what my advice is? Do it that way, generally speaking. It's not cheating. It's actually wisdom. How are you uniquely designed? What is that strategic advantage that you have just innately, or it could have been from training or experience or life experience, birth, all of that, family of origin, like however it came, all that came together to make you, and now it's just natural. Where does that give you a distinct advantage? A bonus tip on that, I read and learned from James Clear in I think it was one of his articles. He talked about this idea that he's actually not the greatest. Almost no one is the greatest at any one thing, but actually where his success and many people's success comes from is it's 2 areas of above average competency coming together, and it's that unique collaboration of skills that become this very unique offering into the world and an unfair advantage. So I think for him, he's an above average writer. His words, he's probably even better than that, but and he's an above average marketer. And he said many writers are not marketers. Marketers aren't truly writers, but because he has that combination, it's been incredibly helpful for him. And so, for myself, even on this podcast, I'm leaning into better video quality. Hope you can tell even on this podcast, that's been in my past. So I'm a podcaster, but I'm formerly a videographer, a filmmaker, and not every podcaster has that. And so I'm trying to uniquely meld them. It's an unfair advantage. It's a way I've been uniquely designed or who I've uniquely become through my life's journey. And so as you begin to see that, it's going to clarify some ways not to go, some goals to the ungoal, and some goals to maybe pick up along the way. And I believe that is going to greatly help you to really succeed, right? To really succeed at life, or as the definition is, to attain a desired object or end. To reach your goals, you got to have them, and they need to be clear. And so that is our missing piece number one. Before we jump into missing piece number two, I just want to quickly invite you to subscribe to my weekly newsletter, The Wise Letter. We're having a lot of fun over there. It's once or more a week. I'll be sending you a thoughtful email, and essentially it's a direct link of communication. We don't always know in the future how, if maybe like we won't be able to communicate directly, or things change on social media, for example. But with email, it's a direct line of communication between myself and you. I'm totally happy for you to reply to emails and hear your thoughts and questions and communicate. Next thing about the Wise Letter is it's a form of encouragement. I'm seeking to put out a podcast weekly here to encourage you, but we're going to add on to that and do different information and look at it from different angles on there in the written form. I know for myself, I like to listen to stuff. Sometimes I like to read, like to take in that information that way. And so I hope that the newsletter would be a weekly form of encouragement for you. And finally, it's an active way to support the show. We don't have a sponsor of the show currently. If we did, it's the Wise Letter. And so you going on there, adding to that, it's greatly helpful. Lets me know who's listening, who's interested. And so you can go to thewiseletter.com and sign up for that today. And I would be so honored and grateful if you did, and excited to see you over there. Okay, missing piece number two is that we need simple systems. So we need clear goals to actually, really succeed. But then secondly, we need simple systems. We need actually a system to get there. And this is the one that I personally struggle with the most. Webster defines the word system this way: an organized or established procedure. Personally, I could come up with an organized procedure, but sticking with it long enough to call it established, that's another thing entirely. It's not enough to have clearly defined goals. We need to also have an organized or established procedure, a system, to achieve those goals. And this is the one that personally I've been weak at. Like I said, many people, some listening, you're going to have been weaker at the first to actually think big and really get down to what you want, to identify your unique giftings. But for other people, you like to dream and you love the day or two retreat to vision cast and build your mission statement. I know that's me. I love doing it. I like helping other people do it. Love staying up in the clouds and that big stuff. But at some point, you do have to get down there and build systems, an organized or established procedure that is actually going to take you from A to Z to achieve your goals, to really reach success, to attain that end. Even just by an example with this podcast and the newsletter, the Wise Letter, been doing it now for quite a while. I think we're coming up this fall on about a year, and there was some prep before that. And I'm seeking to get it out once a week, the newsletter once a week at least, and the podcast once a week. And I had some clarity on the goal. I believed that I was uniquely suited to do podcasts. I had the personal desire, felt like it was the right season from God. So there was some clarity on the goal, but it wasn't enough to just know what I wanted. And even the specificity that I wanted to deliver one a week, I realized recently I was actually in a time of prayer, and I was looking at the core areas of my life and feeling a little bit like I was just trying to climb up a wall with no handholds and footholds, wasn't really making progress. And it felt like a God insight. Time will tell. If it's not a great idea, it wasn't God. If it was, then let's give him the glory. But I had that kind of this realization, what I'm sharing with you right now, that, okay, I know what I want to do. I have a vague sense of how to do it, turn the microphone on, turn the camera on, and record. But I need a real system, just it could be like a habit loop, atomic habit style, but a set of procedures, this, then this, then this, that I just do like clockwork, that if I do that, it will produce the results. And that's when I realized for me that a system that I had worked in the past for creative endeavors to get stuff out was to wake up earlier than I have been doing, to wake up quite early. And so I realized, man, I've been sleeping in a little bit, and I've been frustrated by my lack of progress here. Why don't I go back to a system that has worked in the past and get up earlier so I can write the newsletter, so I can write the outline for these podcasts, so I can get other things done. In the early part of the day when my mind is sharp, I needed a system that would help me to achieve the goal. And we're sitting here filming as fruit of that system, and we could look at it in so many different ways. So where could that be for you, where you're like, I know what I want to do, but what is the system to do it? And here are 3 questions to help us build systems that lead to success. First is this. It's kind of what I just mentioned. What's worked in the past? What's worked in the past? Maybe you're going to come up with a totally new and novel system. And if you're, 15 years old, you probably will need to, because you don't have a huge amount of past experiences or successes to draw on. But if you're 20, 25, 30, 35 and on, there's probably been things that have worked that you're just no longer doing. And it's like, you ate half the corn off the corn on the cob or whatever, but you left the rest. You left I'm mixing my analogies here, but money on the table. There was still resource to be drawn from that idea, from that system, and you didn't draw it all out. You didn't utilize it. And so the first question is, what's worked in the past? And that was what I realized for me is, well, getting up about an hour or 2 earlier than I was, that had bided me the time. It set me up in a way that had worked in the past. So I'm actually going to return to that. Another one for me is as I've worked to get to my optimal weight and, body fat percentage and all that. I'm not there yet, seeking to be healthy. I realized that intermittent fasting, when I looked back even on journaling, which can be super helpful just as another hack and habit. It's the only reason I like journaling is as I looked back over the years, and my journaling during a time when I knew I was lighter, that I was intermittent fasting, and so I'm realizing, that worked for me in the past. I'm not doing it. I'm not receiving the results, the success I want. Maybe I should return to that system that got it for me there. That system won't work for everybody, but it works for me. Why don't I return back there and try it again? And so that's the first question as we build systems to achieve our goals, to reach and attain our end, to succeed, is ask what worked in the past. The second is scheduling. It's very practical. When can I do it? When in my schedule, there's many people that talk about the idea that if it's not on the budget, if it's not on the calendar, then it's probably not a priority. It's probably not going to happen, at least not consistently. And so as we build our system, we need to determine when can I do it, the frequency of how often I can do it. Because if I can only do it once a month, and I need 50 reps of it, well, then we're talking about, what is that, 5-6 years before I'm going to have achieved success in that area, and probably I'll get discouraged before. And so I need probably to up the amount of times I'm doing it or find something different. But when can I do it? Where in my schedule can I do it? And I'm a huge fan of morning routines. I'm a huge fan of stacking the front part of your day with the most valuable things. I just find that then everything else is gravy. Everything else is the bonus. And it sets me up in a much more peaceful and productive way than when maybe I get a little rest in the front end, but then I'm feeling bad on the back end. I've tried them both, but whenever I go back and front load it, I feel better. So when can I do it? When can I do the system? How often can I do the system? It's going to give me some sense of what the pace of success and attaining success is going to look like. And then finally, how likely am I going to stick with it? And I kind of teased this one out before, but you might say, well, okay, when can I do it? Every single day for 5 hours. But how likely are you to stick with it? It's no better to do something very extreme for 1 week and then drop off for 5 years than it is to set up such a slow pace, achieve almost nothing over a year, and then drop off for the other 4. Either way, you've achieved very little, and then you eventually achieve nothing. You want to find that right balance of frequency and difficulty, would be, I think, how I would say it, and I think other people have said it, is, okay, I want to have the right frequency and I want to have the right difficulty, because it's consistency that I believe is what ultimately leads to these amazing results, that leads to success, attaining again and again our desired ends, is a consistency in our systems, right? Refine them, work on them, improve them, whatever, but be consistent with them. And so ask yourself, how likely am I to stick with it? And if you if you overshot, which I think we tend to do when we're dreaming or planning out, bring it back down to a level that you can succeed at, and maybe rock that for 3 months, 6 months, and then start bumping up the difficulty if you feel like you can. But realize it's better for it to be simple and a little easier but consistent than harder but unpredictable and ultimately something that you drop off on. And so those are the three questions that help us build clear goals. And that is, what worked in the past, when can I do it, and how likely am I to stick with it? So how about you? What was your missing piece? Was it lacking clear goals and that vision for your life, or building simple, sustainable systems? My advice, and the whole point of this podcast, is that you would put two together. Whatever your missing piece was, you'd plug that in, and together I believe you're going to see greater results and success attaining your goals in your life. I'd love to hear from you at Geno@genoschmelzer.com to hear about your progress. And thank you for listening today. Once again, I just want to remind you to subscribe to the Wise Letter for more resources like this, but in a written format, and it's a way for us to connect, stay connected, and I can know that you're out there in the web, and keep sending you resources. And with that, God bless you. Have a great day, everybody.